You might be trying to do better and to become a better person, whether it's your personal life or your professional life. But instead of learning new ideas, new tactics, new strategies, let's say we just figured out all the old ones and really tried to get down and buckle down what it is that we have been doing and see what works and what doesn't work. Because there's so many people, they're constantly always looking for the new thing, the next way that they're going to make a quick buck or the next way they're going to be able to jump their confidence up another level. But if we realize that throughout our lives, we are going through things and we have the ability to see those things, learn from them, and change them, that's going to be very, very different because we're probably going to get to the places we want to get to so much quicker. For so many people, they want to have a better life. They want to be doing well financially. They want to be doing well in their relationships. But for some reason, they're just not learning from their past. And what happens, interesting enough, is that so many people go back to their past, but when they go back to their past, they're living in their past. They're saying that their past is them. They're taking their past from them, from what they have, and bringing it to their future. So they're sort of messing themselves up. But we have to do is we have to do something totally different. We have to be able to learn from our past and make sure we take those things and if anything, not bring it to the future. We have to take those things, learn from them, and tweak it so we could start doing things differently. And what's interesting is that when we want to be able to do something, when we want to learn a new skill, when we want to learn a new hobby, so there's the idea of learning about it. You could speak to people about it, but then there's the actual work that you're going to need to be putting in. There's there's the time and effort that you're going to need to have in order to get good at that thing, whatever it might be. It could be building a business, it could be learning guitar. And what's interesting is that as much theory as we know, as many books as we read, or as many people as we speak to, podcasts we listen to, we're not going to know where we really stand until we get our feet wet. And until that happens, what so many people get so stuck because on the one hand, they're so proud of themselves, and they should be so proud of themselves that they took the action. But on the other hand, they usually get the feedback right away that things aren't necessarily how they thought they were supposed to be. That when they are jumping into it, you know what, it's not going to be as easy as everybody says it's supposed to be because they've never done it before. And I think different people, even based on their education, but different people based on their own experiences, might do well with certain things as opposed to other people. And really, our past, in the one way, molds us to become the person. And sometimes you can understand what's going to happen. So, for example, if somebody played sports when they were younger, and they're used to winning, they're used to learning, they're losing, they're used to getting destroyed in games and having to bounce back and resilience and working on the mindset. So when they're looking to play a new game moving forward, let's say they're picking up golf as they get older, or tennis, or whatever the other sports that people might pick up. And they start to play those games. So they understand that there's going to be a learning curve because they have experience maybe when they were younger playing basketball or football or baseball or something like that. And what we need to understand is that for those people to jump into a tennis or a golf later on, they understand that there's skills, there's technique, there's things that they're going to have to learn, and there's just time going to have to be put in. So when they come to those situations, they're not going to be so frustrated or so upset because they just have the right expectation of what is necessary to be even a solid player. But when other people come into a new arena, for example, somebody who's been working at W-2 their whole life, and they want to jump into entrepreneurship, and they don't even know the first thing about starting a business, and they start reading all these books, and they start educating themselves, and doing all these amazing things. They're spending hours and hours and hours. But then the first time, and they take that step, they get a little excited, and they do the jump. That jump is a massive jump for them. And that jump is going to be the thing that's going to help hopefully transform their life to the life that they want. But we also have to realize is that step that we're going to take, we have to have a realistic expectation. Because if the expectation is that things are just going to go well, all that's going to happen is we're just going to be defeated. We're going to be frustrated. We're going to be upset. And we're just going to be annoyed because it's not going to be the way that we thought. Of course, for other people who've been doing it for 10 years, who are like, that's a joke what you're doing. Of course, it's a joke to them because they've been doing it for 10 years. And I find this a lot because this happened to me in the real estate world. I was passionate about real estate. I always thought about doing real estate. Then I started to get really serious about learning about real estate and really educating myself. And then I took a plunge. And I thought, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to do this like bigger size project, which for other people might be a joke. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to take a whole house. I'm going to renovate it. I'm going to try to convert it into apartments and this and that. And then one thing after the next, I realized, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And then I lost money here and I had to fire a contractor here. Then I had to fire my second contractor. And there was so much I didn't know that I couldn't have known until I got into it. And what's interesting is that for some people, they might look at that. And for me, for sure, in the beginning, I looked at it as like, wow, this is terrible. Like, this is not what I expected. This is not something that I possibly want. But on the other hand, it was the way that I was going to learn. It was the way that I was going to be able to see what was my standard? Where was I on this gauge of being able to become successful in this realm of real estate or not? And I think for so many people, they want to jump into something and they have this expectation that they're supposed to be successful. And by having that expectation, because they read 2 books or 3 books or 100 books, that's the thing that's going to mess them up. We need to understand for ourselves that if we want to become more successful, if we want to be doing something really, really special when it comes to our own personal lives, if we want to create the lives that we want, on the one hand, we have to have that proper expectation. And on the other hand is we have to learn from our mistakes, because once we jump in and once we have the proper expectation, if we're not learning from those mistakes, if we're not learning from that feedback we're getting, then all that we're doing is we're just setting ourselves up for more failure. So many people get so frustrated. Why are my ads not working? Why are my posts on social media not going viral? Why do I have one post that gets 500 views and another one that gets like 7 views? And these are all things that are just so annoying, because you're like, I'm trying to figure this out. But on the other hand, it's like, are you really trying to figure this out? Are you really trying to understand why it is? What was different about those videos? Have you ever taken like your 10 most popular, posts and looked at them and see what they have in common, and then your 10 least popular and see what they have in common? Trying to figure out what that is going to be something that's going to only help you be able to move forward. And so many people don't have the patience to just sit down and just be a learner of their own life. And if you're not going to be putting yourself out there, if you're not going to be doing the reps, then what's going to happen is that you're just going to go in this circle of whatever lifestyle you're living in. Because if you're not growing, if you're not becoming more, if you're not learning from what life is telling you back right now, nothing's going to change. And we need to get that feedback, because so many people don't want to hear that feedback. Life is giving it to them. Life is throwing it at their face. They keep going after one thing after next, and they're not seeing that success. And guess what? That's on them, because they're not learning from it. But the cool part about this is that you're going to keep trying and trying and trying. And all of a sudden, one thing is going to click. And then all of a sudden, all that experience is going to just fly forward. And that is something that I think we all have to recognize, that things are going to take time. Things are not going to happen right away. But if we constantly put in the effort to become the person that we want, to be able to put ourselves in a situation that we want, that's going to be the thing that's going to be able to help move us forward. And for so long, we keep going through life, and we keep getting so let down by life, by life itself, maybe the people in life, the experiences in life, the situations that we've been going through. And because of that, we're not able to move forward. We're stuck in this lifestyle. Because 6 years ago, if you could ask yourself, what would you have done differently to give yourself a different life today? What would that answer be? What's that one skill that, if I would be able to focus on this every day or once a week or once a month even, what would that thing be that I'll be able to get better at? What's the one skill that I'm trying to work on that I might have already that I could tweak that will really double my input because I get even better at it? And I think for so many people, they don't realize what it is that they have. They have such opportunity around them. And yet they just let life keep bullying them around, and they're not learning from themselves. And if we do not learn from ourselves, then how are we supposed to get better? And I think so many people don't realize that we can get better. We can do more. We can become somebody different. And all that has to happen is that we have to step up our game. We have to learn about it ourselves. Because if we don't, all that's going to happen is that we're the ones who are going to get pushed down. We're the ones who are going to be affected by it. Nobody's going to come save us. Life is not going to just give us, success. And for the people who constantly blame successful people, or the people who are constantly talking negatively towards successful people, realize even their success that they've had, and maybe they got lucky, or maybe they're in the right position, or they grew up in different communities and whatnot. And maybe they did, maybe they really did. But we also have to realize that at the end of the day, that's not going to help us grow. By us focusing on what we don't have and what they have, is that really going to help serve you? Is that really going to make you a better person? Is that really going to take you to the next level? And the answer is like no, because no jealousy or no, reality check of any kind is going to be helpful. This is my reality. This is what I have to do differently. What am I going to do differently? This is what life is throwing at me. How can I change it? If the people that I hang out with today are negative influences on me, how can I change that? Because if not, then I'm going to constantly be influenced by those people. If I keep trying to invest in this one thing and it's not working out, what's the feedback? Is this the right thing? Am I doing it wrong? What's happening here? If I keep getting in fights with people that I want to have close relationships with, why? Why is that? Am I the one who's instigating it? I'm the one who keeps getting in the fights. Or are they the ones? And we need to ask ourselves these questions, because we're so many of us, we just go through life and we just let it happen to us. And if we let it happen to us, then nothing's going to change. We're not going to change. And if we're not going to change, then we're just going to be in the same situation in the next 6 years. And that is something that so many people don't realize. So ask yourself, what are the areas of your life that you wish you could get feedback in? What are the parts of your life that, if you could just pause and reflect and really try to understand why you react certain ways? And not in the sense of like, hey, like what happened when I was a child, but why, like, what are the triggers right now for me? Who are the type of people that I get anxious around? And how can I get away from those people? Or how can I work on my anxiety around those people? Those are the types of questions we need to ask, not putting ourselves in the past of saying we're rationalizing it. Whether it's rational or not rational, there's probably a million things that cause you to become the person that you are today. What we have to do though is we have to figure out, okay, where we are today. Do we like this version of ourselves? Do we want to be making this version a little better than ourselves? Which areas of ourselves do we want to be enhancing? And then ask ourselves, what is that we need to be doing? What's the feedback? If you find yourself constantly getting nervous about doing X, Y, and Z, so then like you have to realize, you know what, I might have to do something different. And that is something that is so powerful and so special. Because there are so many people, they want a different life. And they're constantly looking for the next hack, the next trick, the next, YouTube video that's going to help them go viral or become a viral type of person, have a viral life. And what we have to realize that it's not about that. It's about what's going on. Where are we today? And it's interesting because I find myself also, I get obsessed with these podcasts and I listen to them. And they're all saying like, do the work, do the work, do the work. And it's hard because on the one hand, like I want to listen to the podcast. On the other hand, it's like, well, that's controversial to what it is that they're saying, because they're saying, stop listening to my podcast, go do the work, put in the time, come back in 6 months and like, tell me how things are different. So at the end of the day, it's like, are those distractions? And those are questions we need to ask ourselves. And I think there's a season for learning. I think there's a season, I think always should be learning, but what better teacher than life itself? What better experience than our own experience that we could look to tweak it to get things different? And I think for some people, they don't even go into those specific areas. So if somebody wants to learn investment, they don't even ask themselves, what should I be doing with investment? How are my finances? How much money am I wasting or spending every single day? And I think all these questions are so important that we need to be asking. And if we had this opportunity to allow ourselves to do and to change one area of our lives, how much of an impact would that have? And we have that capability. And sometimes we just need to slow it down. And I'm sure we all know that one area of our life that if we can change, so much would change in our lives. And I think in different seasons of somebody's life, they have different areas. So for some, it could be relationships, some it could be financial, some it could be health. But right now, ask yourself, what is that one area of your life that if we could change, if we could do something differently, it's going to make such a drastic difference. And for so many people, if they could just ask themselves that one question, their lives could literally change overnight. Because then they could start to look at themselves. They could start to ask themselves the question. They could start to face themselves in the mirror to realize, who is the person that I need to become? What are the skills that I need in order to become the person that I want to become? What are those conversations I need to have? And all these different ideas are things that are only going to only help us grow to become that person, because that growth is on the other side of that discomfort. And for a lot of us, it's a lot of discomfort. What we need to understand is, you know what? We have this ability, and all we have to do is just take a pause for a second, look, and make that difference. You have it in you to do that. And the question is, do you want to? Because I think, honestly, a lot of people don't want to. But there are a few. There are a few people who want to really make that change. And if you make that change, I'm telling you, your life is going to be totally, totally different. We'll see you on the next one. All the best.